Say the same thing.
Opposite of a miniature crybabies. Large man babies.
Andrew Schwarzenegger.
And
Andrew?
Wow, dude.
No, actually, I really like that. Yeah, my name is Andrew. What are you doing?
My God.
I went to college.
My brother Arnold is very famous.
I'm the opposite.
But I talk like him.
I'm a CPA.
Might be shoveling dirt.
BeatiDudes! Hello, BeatiDudes worldwide, nationwide, and stateside. My name is Paul Kolker. This is a podcast for Christian men seeking to grow in holiness as we learn from each other, encouraging each other, walking arm in arm on the way to eternity through fraternity. Again, the BeatiDudes, if this is your first time tuning in. And my name is Paul Kolker, joined by Jeff Schiefelbein.
Loving it.
And Nicholas Bezner.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I'm.
Yes. And we are back in studio with Marcellino D'Ambrosio, or Lino, as he likes to be called, or
D'Ambro.
Marchie, I believe, is another one.
LL D'Ambrosio.
If you're watching,
No, Paul.
if you're watching on video, you saw him stare daggers at me on that one. That was fun. That was worth it. Worth it. If you're on the audio-only podcast, please do not call him that. All right. Welcome back. We're happy to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
We've got a little something creative we're going to kick off with. Jeff alluded to this on Monday.
We didn't do our reverse Simpsons on Monday because we're saving them for now, but today's show is going to be about branding, the creative exercise, getting our juices flowing. So what we're going to do is one at a time, we'll go around, and the person who has the cups, there's 2 cups here, we'll pull out one adjective first and then one noun second. Just read them when you get them. And beforehand, we're going to pick whether or not you're going to explain to us something that's the opposite of what you pull out, or you're going to find something, you're going to name something that's extremely similar. So this is either opposites or the same. And let's say Nick goes first and he pulls out like tiny table.
Yeah.
Well, then he can say something. If we said it's opposites, he has to say like
a large chair.
Yep. And then we could
Got
also
it.
just chime in after that. But you get the
fun.
first shot at it.
Yeah.
Not even a competition. It's really because we want to get the creative juices flowing.
Right.
We know how you like to keep it saucy.
Yeah.
Marcellino.
I have
Because he's
I have a
Italian.
sauce joke. You want to hear it?
Yeah, hold on before you go, Nick.
All right.
What is it?
Yeah. So what do you call it when the Pope runs out of salsa?
I don't know.
Nope.
Sede picante.
Translate Latin, please.
Yeah. Sede vacante means empty chair. But
Set up
picante.
Nice.
Oh my
Nice.
I
Nice.
literally would have just sat here for the rest of the show.
I would have been like this.
I'm really glad someone here went to seminary.
And likes puns in multiple languages.
And the one thing we have in common is none of us finished seminary.
That is the one thing.
That's technically
Can I
correct.
draw my words?
Wait,
from
before
those cups?
you do, are we gonna do opposites
Oh,
or
yeah, yeah.
why don't you start
Opposite.
with opposites?
Opposite.
Opposite.
I think that's actually a good place for all of us to have to start. So you
what
pull one
is
of
the opposite of a wide-eyed Elvis impersonator?
What's the opposite of a wide-eyed Elvis impersonator?
A blind Dolly Parton?
I think
Dude, that was good.
There's no reason to even go on from that
No,
one. That
that's-
one's perfect. Well done. Gosh, man, he's sharp today.
Wow.
He won
He's
on
on
Monday. He just hit the blind Dolly Parton.
I was close. I got second. I
Okay,
think.
don't look beforehand.
Okay, all right.
What's the opposite of?
A famous elephant. Man, wow, this is really hard.
So easy.
Dude, this is what you do to people on your podcast. I've been on your podcast. It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, a hiding mouse. Wow,
There
that's
you go.
really.
So
wow,
this
that
was a
sucked.
famous elephant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the opposite could be a...
Smarto instead of Dumbo.
Oh, yeah, it could be a smarto. Yeah. It could also be a hobofant. It's just a...
What?
Wow, guys, I think we all really
Next.
failed on that one.
We are nailing it.
adjectives and noun.
All right, what am I doing?
And
Opposite?
you got to read it.
Always
yeah,
opposite.
Always
I think it's
opposite.
more
Yeah,
fun.
okay.
that
And
way.
just read them as soon as you see them.
Because how would you do the same? You would just
the
say the same thing?
opposite of a miniature crybabies. Large man babies.
Andrew Schwarzenegger.
Andrew?
Wow, dude.
No, actually, I really like that. Yeah, my name is Andrew. What are you
Oh my
doing?
God.
I went to college.
My brother Arnold is very famous.
I'm the opposite.
But I talk like him.
I'm a CPA.
Might be shoveling dirt.
Andrew Schwarzenegger works.
Oh, man.
Dude, it works for the last two. It's the opposite of a famous elephant.
Oh, he did run Republican in California, so yeah, technically that's an
Oh,
elephant.
nice.
Yeah.
We knew it would come around.
We figured it out.
You getting those juices flowing yet? Huh,
Yeah.
big guy?
He ran Man, that was good. Thanks. Deep pull. That was good.
Oh, no.
Governor.
The
I got
governor.
Adjectives falling
My
apart.
brother.
One of my favorite things to do when you're playing games like this is don't look at all. But don't
Yeah.
accidentally see the adjective.
Yeah.
So what is the difference, the opposite of trusted podcast hosts? The BeatiDudes.
BeatiDudes. Yeah.
Jeff Schiefelbein.
Yeah.
The
The facts that Jeff comes out with. All right, Nick, you're up again.
doing it again?
We're going to do one
Another
more
round?
round. Let's see what we
Okay.
can come up with. There may be a brand here that we launched today.
Oh, yeah. The opposite of Catholic consultants. McKinsey.
Oh, gosh.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
I don't know. I talked to somebody who used to work at McKinsey today. They're great,
No, they are great. It's
but they're not Catholic.
any big firm could have been said right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also could be. I will not go there. Go ahead, Marcellino.
Yeah.
Yeah, draw it. The opposite of.
That's funny. You never know what you're going to get.
The opposite of.
An old school catnip.
Stop putting it back in there, dude.
Oh, crap. Sorry.
It doesn't
All
work
right.
that way.
Paul gets it too.
What? Where did it go? Okay.
Futuristic dog food.
Nice.
I'll say
Dogecoin.
floating poop pond. Right? That's it?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, you just get two new ones.
All right,
There
here we go. All right, the opposite of
I like your setup here for us.
a part-time babysitter's full-time father of 7.
Parent. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a ridiculous combo. You're just a babysitter.
A full-time babysitter is called a nanny.
I thought it was somebody I'd pay by the hour. Like, okay, here we go. Well, full time. I'm with you. Okay.
The opposite of
A crunchy artist. The opposite of a crunchy artist is a smooth operator.
Like it.
Peanut
Hey.
butter.
yeah,
An aluminum engineer.
an investment banker.
Or I should have said
Yeah.
aluminium engineer.
A GIF analyst, but GIF J-I-F-F. Sorry.
That is the proper pronunciation of GIF as well.
Is it?
As given by the creator of the GIF
Correct.
himself.
No, as driven by the creator.
Yup.
All right, we doing any more?
No. Now
Okay.
we're going to move on to help us, Marcellino. You're a branding expert. What do we need? No, you have been operating and helping brands everywhere. Can you literally talk us through your process of, like, how do you go into an engagement? What are you looking for in a client? How do you start this whole thing of giving somebody their identity, whether that's a father of 7 or that's a startup or a well-known organization?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk like high level for a second here. So philosophy, why branding is important. Well, branding is the first thing that God ever told man to do. So, what was the first act of man?
Name 'em.
Giving names to animals.
Giving names to animals. Branding. Boom. There you go. It is a role of a king and a father to give identity. And so it's a part of our nature. It's a part of our God-given, like our role. And so I think that like branding is a really Catholic thing to be interested in. I think like in the world, we tend to think about brands like they are just kind of just something that you do to make something look good and to target a person and get them to make a decision. It's sort of this like somewhat manipulative thing. And I think a lot of people in the church think about like branding and marketing in that category. But I think about it more like this is it's our job to, bring heaven to earth. And so we're a sacramental people. We believe that tangible reality is a holding place of God. And so I don't think that there's anything more Catholic I could be doing other than being a priest. So that's the philosophy. Any thoughts on that? Reactions?
No, yeah. So you're saying it's kind of the way people encounter what your business is or what this parish is, even, right? Like it's the visible sign, or
right?
That outward sign that's screaming at people, "Hey, this is who we are," and inviting them into some sort of relationship with you.
Yeah, it's like part of. So God could have said to Adam, the whole world is yours. Go ahead. But what his mission was to take the Garden of Eden and to spread it. So Adam's role was to name the animals and to cultivate this garden. And so when we are in a mission field, in a parish, family, business, whatever that is, it's the role of the Father is to bring structure to that entity. So an unintentional, unguided place in nature is wilderness, and that's dangerous, it's scary, etc. So a business, a parish, a family, that is a walled garden. You are cultivating something. And so the experience that someone has when they first encounter it, all the way through their, final decisions, purchasing decisions, that is they're encountering the cultivated garden of your brand.
Yeah, I also love what you said of people's view of branding, because there is such a thing as people that are branding with bad intent.
Yeah,
their intent
sure.
is to get you addicted to something or to sell you something you don't need. And I'm not saying that's an evil intent, but that's certainly not altruistic in any way to get you to buy more of something you never needed to begin with and create this feeling that you must. But at the same time, this whole idea that brand creates the mental and visual connection and the even feeling to something that is hard to describe, but then
right.
becomes a totality of something.
Right.
And you can do that with great intention.
Right. Yeah. And so what is my process? With business, this is...
Do you want to take the BeatiDudes through your process?
You guys have a great brand.
Yes, that's really all we wanted to hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Friday show of the BeatiDudes.
Yeah. Okay. So how do I think about brand? Well, for a business, the first thing that everyone needs to know that's in business is that 95% of your audience, your prospective audience, is not in market for the thing that you want to sell them. And so you have to build a relationship with them so that when they are in market for that thing, they come to you first or they think of you first. So that's part of the role of brand in business. It's not just some throwaway thing that doesn't matter. It really matters a lot because that 95% is only going to think of you because of your brand.
How often do you run into situations where somebody will say, well, we did the thing you told us to and we didn't get any new clients, or we got one client, and they don't have the staying power to realize that 95% of the potential buyers aren't in market right now? Yeah.
So that is, I try to explain that. This is a longer term investment when you work on brand. So most investments in brand don't play out for 12 to 18 months. But and that there is research to show the impact of brand initiatives. But anyway, so process, first thing is I want to look at an organization's competitors, which is actually an interesting place to start because most of the time you would think let's look at your product, let's look at your audience. But the most important thing actually is looking at your competitive set. What is it that you are saying? And then what is it that they are saying? Because being different is the thing that makes a brand a brand. So the BeatiDudes stacked up next to every other Catholic podcast. What are you going to see on the average Catholic podcast? Old Catholic art. You're going to see serif fonts. You're going to see traditional some dude in a collar, right? And then the BeatiDudes we're in Technicolor and it's four guys and that there is a market for that, right? It's
Technicolor was at the top of our vision board list. So yeah,
And it's religiously funny.
Yeah, like you guys are doing something different. You are different. You're not just saying that you're different with like your branding or your colors. Like you are doing something different. And so one of the first things that I do with clients is ask like, are you doing something different? If you're not, then this whole exercise is probably not going to work. Like we got to figure out what that is unique to you. So we work through a process of just kind of like looking at the market, looking at what are people interested in, what are the competitors doing, and try and carve out a unique kind of proposition. We also look at audience, and so we have a very Catholic way of looking at audience profiles. So this is also another part of it. It's like, what's your competitor like set, and then what does your audience want? So we ask a lot of questions about not just broad demographics, not like, oh yeah, like teens and they're, like that's not an audience profile. Catholic teens, not an audience profile. What you want is like psychographic information. So we ask questions about specific people, like who is your favorite customer, or favorite for you guys would be like, who's your favorite listener? And then we'd go through a process of asking like, what's keeping them up at night? What brands are they interested in? What are they arguing with their spouse about? What kind of watch do they wear? Like we want to get as close to that person as we possibly can. And then finally, we'll, with all of the insights that come out of that like looking at the data of an industry, looking at the competitive set, we will, and the audience profile, we will start the audience with like a specific action that we want them to take or their first encounter. And then we'll walk through a story to the end point of the decision that we really want them to make, which is usually a purchase or donation decision. And that we write in a story. And so it like forces us to be very attuned to information that you wouldn't normally be thinking about.
You can't fake your way through that narrative.
Yeah.
Right? You got to really be thinking all the way through it. That's really cool.
I suppose you could, but it wouldn't get any results is the idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like one of my favorite exercises is like their first encounter with you is in a text from a friend while they're on the toilet. And, getting you draw like so close to what they're feeling and thinking about in that moment that you realize there's so much that you realize when you like kind of put yourself in that person's position. It's like,
that's how I first heard about Sherwood Fellows. Yeah.
yeah.
I remember reading that brief. Paul Kolker walks into his house after a long day of acting.
But you weren't in that 95. You were in the 95%, not the consideration set at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So out of that process comes a like strategy brief, and then we'll start getting into like design, and sometimes we don't do a whole lot on brand. Usually messaging changes, but we'll at least work on like some sort of campaign or like end goal that the client has. So that's the full process.
That really ties in a lot with like some of the strategy work that we like. It just makes me think of like Southwest Airlines, right? Versus everybody else. It's like, we're not going to do first class. We're not going to do,
exactly.
We're not going to do this. We are going to do like bags fly free. That's different than everybody else, right?
What did you think about like their announcement that they're considering getting rid of the bags?
Yeah. Is it the bags or the seating?
The seating.
Or both?
Both, yeah.
I think it's a bad idea, but
yeah.
I think they're wayward right now.
Yeah,
just a little
I was
bit
gonna
of
say
like,
Southwest is kind of like the last 15 years has been a different company.
And by the way, I've flown on it nonstop and still like the seating, how you board a lot. And they get a lot of my money because I will spend more money to be on Southwest. And when it's my company's money for 20 something years, I will spend more money just for the way it feels to be on their flights, the way they treat you, the way I get to get on when I need to.
Right.
And so, we'll see. I'm sure there's a bunch of smart people crunching numbers, but
that's the thing that,
I don't
man,
like it.
Like, I think that you guys are in an environment where like you get to provide insights as a management consulting company and private equity company that takes human reality into account.
That's right.
And so like when I saw that about Southwest getting rid of Or like they
The
had an
boarding
active
process.
The boarding stuff, yeah.
Right. I was just like, man, they're killing the brand.
Well, and
Like,
it just feels like
yeah.
there's just been this gradual slip going on
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
And, it hasn't changed all the way through to where people treat you differently when you're interacting with the airline, which I still appreciate in a big way. But there's just stuff that you're like, okay, so this is going to feel different. Like somebody else is going to start being a little bit more of they played the underdog even when they were the big guy. And I thought that was cool. What are brands that you're impressed by right now that you get excited about, even if they're ones you've worked on or not?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, Duolingo is freaking killing it. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the stuff that they've done recently, but...
Not from a branding perspective. I just heard they've got like amazing UX, UI, and like retention and like crazy like stuff. But I don't know from a branding perspective.
They like... So I think of brand as not just the logo and the colors, but like how the brand presents itself online. And so they do all of these like ridiculous antics on social media such that like they've become a meme. So like people will make really funny jokes about inappropriate... I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, no.
It gets people's attention.
To your point though, right? If I was going to say, all right, I want to learn another language, it's the only thing I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I'm not there right now, but if I ever were, it'd be where I went.
It bubbles up instantly in your mind. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, the CEO actually did this. So they also have a very like consistent culture. So the CEO, he acted like he had one of his assistants be the Uber driver for their new operations director hires. So when they were like interviewing these people, and how the person behaved towards the driver was like the actual interview.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the Zappos story from their rise to being such a big impact on culture. I mean, it's a lot of that. Like the bus driver was the interview, and everybody would get on that bus not knowing that was one of their employees.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The security guard downstairs at the 80-story building, and it's like giving him trouble, making it a little bit inconvenient. And how do you treat that person?
Yeah. And this is going to be like another totally just everybody is going to roll their eyes who's in marketing, but I love Liquid Death. I think they're doing some super cool stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
They've been just taking that whole like be different line very far. They make fun of other brands. They're just willing to be different and to do things differently, and to be like totally themselves.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily different for different sake, but they know who they are, and they're not trying to then be who these other brands are.
Right. Yeah, different for different sake that's not
it's
what
cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I want to go back to the BeatiDudes, not trying to be funny for a second here. And I think you've probably experienced what I'm about to share with you, but we had people telling us, smart people, that what we were building was not going to work because there's nobody's, square sticker-looking version of their website of their podcast that's going to be listed against a bunch of other podcasts. Like we'd have these 3 faces on there. Everybody else has a real person. This big balloon out, almost like Life of Brian looking letters for the BeatiDudes. They're like, this doesn't work. It's not going to show well. And we're like, thank you.
Yeah. It's
it almost
ridiculous.
fueled it, right? It almost fueled
Right.
it. Not that I wanted to say we did it anyways, but more like we could feel something that was absolutely different, and what we were trying to produce, we felt like there was nothing like it out there, and I think that's borne a lot of fruit.
Yeah. How did you guys think about catching foxes when you were like thinking about this brand?
Do you know? And this is really funny because I have a tremendous respect for anybody who's putting out Catholic content. I have an explicit content filter on my Spotify, and I tried to listen to Catching Foxes, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
And that's my very first reaction was, in what world do you need to use explicit language to have this conversation? And I know people can tell me all their different excuses for this. I've just been on both sides of it, many years, decades of foul language, and, going on almost a decade now of not having it. And I find that especially in a world where humor is at play, not using bad language, slaps what's like the shock value.
Yeah.
It allows you to have creative, witty, and engaging humor, and not just the cheap laugh. I mean, it's a little bit like that. I try to drop a cuss word because I'm going to make this emphasis. Well, why not use a more emphatic word?
Yeah, I mean,
Emphatic.
no, like it's Brian Regan's approach is he'll throw in words like proprietor and stuff, but he says it in his weird voice. And so it still sounds funny because it's not a common word to use, but he mixes it up with that instead of cuss words.
That's why Seinfeld's one of my favorite comedians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say the biggest difference that I see...
So I've never listened to Catching Foxes is my point. Sorry. Long way.
Well, we're talking about branding, right? And I'm thinking about like who is the audience that's listening to you guys, and what is the need that you're filling? And I think that for your audience,
get closer to the mic, big guy.
Sorry, all right. For your audience, it is. I want to listen to Catholic dudes talking about Catholic stuff, but I'm not really interested in the politics of it, and I'm not necessarily interested in like the ministry, what's going on behind the scenes in the church. I just want to like kind of have fun with some dudes talking about Catholic things.
If I take that further, you're right. There's no exposés or like we're not going to shock you with our hot topic.
This just in. Yeah.
Although we did just find out something about Marcellino D'Ambrosio.
Yeah, we did.
Day of Mayhem. Well, and two things I'll say to that. The first is I find that people also just want to be able to sit around and have good conversation. And so the humor attracts both the highly catechized Orthodox and the fallen away seeker, curious, to a conversation that a lot of times we're talking about very difficult spiritual topics and sacraments and death and forgiveness. I mean, it gets really deep on some of these shows. Yours is not one of them. Right? And then the part about... I just lost it. It was on who we were appealing to, I think. And you said...
Oh, well, the humor, you said, opens it up for the conversation.
Yeah, maybe I was thinking about some other part. It'll come back to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about The Crunch or any of these others? I mean, there's Catholic comedy out there. Have you listened to The Crunch?
I have. Yeah. The Crunch is great. I think that is like a lot more specifically focused on comedy, I think. But yeah, I mean, what I'm always trying to get brands to do is don't think about how you're different. Think about how you're the only option, how you could be the only option for this person in this situation. You know what I mean? Like different is, we're a little bit less expensive than that one. Like that's not good.
Not a categorical difference.
Yeah, it's got to be categorical for it to matter. Yeah. But that's scary. Like that takes real willingness to chop parts of you off. That's where like the dicey stuff in our engagements happens. It's like, are you really going to be the... anyway, I'm not going to like go too far into that, but...
Yeah, I think the cool thing when I think about this brand and how accessible it is and how we press record and go is the idea here is we're really just hanging out with our friend Marcellino. We want to talk about some things. That's why we said, hey, the bonus show, let's talk about this branding piece. But that was the entirety of the prep. We probably prepped with you more than most people, and that was about 90 seconds.
Yeah. Well, for anybody that's interested in like applying this to your business, or if you're interested in even applying it to your family, I think that you can do similar kinds of exercises. I have worksheets that I give out for free to people, so you can get in touch with me and hit me up, and I'm happy to like send those to you.
You're also great at what you do, and I'm going to sell you because you're not going to right now, but I've watched for years the reason why Paul and I ever first connected was Catholic Creatives, and the branding you did there to make us all feel connected to something that was a movement of the Holy Spirit that was bigger than us was mind-blowing. You went on to do it again with Scent and with many other brands that I've watched you partner up with, work for, some behind the scenes, some that I knew about on the front lines, even some of this OSV challenge stuff. Unbelievable work. I want people to know that I put you at the top of the list, especially when it comes to people in the Catholic Church doing work at the highest levels of this type of stuff. So congratulations for making my list.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, but seriously.
Now give us a compliment.
I gave you like 5.
Yeah. He's already complimented us a lot.
It's just how I play. SherwoodFellows.com, right?
I think the reflection in the gospel reading today was like, give without expectation of return or something like that. It was just like very on the nose there.
And Jeff was like, what is the opposite of today's gospel reflection?
Exactly. I think we just found it. What is it? What's the compliment?
Wait, you're still on this? We are roasting you actively.
It's going to be worth it.
Should we play the opposite game?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. No, I did just want to say though, because you're talking about all these things about branding, and something that jumps out to me as a moment of recognizing how the brand affects that connection. You talking about like sacramental, right? Like the way it connects with the person at their first moment of encounter. We were at the National Eucharistic Congress in that huge room with people walking around and walking past hundreds of booths there and seeing all different kinds of brands and everything. But I noticed one specific time, it was this kind of older gentleman walking up, and as he saw BeatiDudes, I just saw him look at it and go, ha!
Yeah.
Like, it's like he got the whole idea in that one.
Oh, it's such
word.
a power punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, it works. Like,
Yeah.
you saw it happen right there in real time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've watched people do that with Undivided Life. When I say, we started a company called Undivided Life, they're like, this is what I've been looking for. And I'm like, I didn't even tell you what we do.
And I'm not going to because it's pages long.
We started a company called Sherwood Fellows where we slaughter lambs at RV parks.
That's
Go back to the Monday episode if you missed that.
Also not true.
That was actually the beginning of my family brand, not my company.
And
That's
from
what
that-
D'Ambrosios do, bro.
And from that blood came the family crest.
Hey, Dambo, you, I don't even think I put the R in there. Dambo.
Yeah.
Dambro.
Dambo, First Blood. Hey, that's, thank you. Y'all brought in Andrew
Schwarzenegger.
Andrew Schwarzenegger.
I'm bringing in Lino Sylvester. Damn, bro. Okay, hey, listen. I've been on your podcast. I've watched your old Catholic Creators podcast. You like to ask ridiculous questions.
I do.
What's
yeah.
a go-to? And ask it of Nick.
Ooh, okay. Nick, a penguin walks into this room. He's wearing a sombrero and a poncho. Why is he here? What does he say?
The time change threw him off. He thought it was Cinco de Mayo, but it's actually November 4th.
Wow, that's an intense throw off.
Really threw him for a loop.
Yeah.
He has the margarita machine ready to go, and so we're gonna take him up on that.
Let's go.
Fortune for us.
I
Happy
love
Cinco de
that.
Mayo.
Do you see him going to this other place in his head?
Yeah.
It's because he played the opposite game.
So actually, this is crazy. We were hired by an oil company in Dallas to rebrand and do a website for them because of how he answered that question.
Really?
No joke. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because of how you answered that
how
question?
we answered. Yes.
Can
that
we-
was an interview question that was asked to us when they were vetting
Awesome.
agencies.
Can we ask how you answered it? Do you remember?
Trade secret.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If it is, that's fine.
Yeah, it was something like the ice caps are melting. It's been traveling around looking for a hero to save it, and it thought this is the place. These are the guys, and so it's inviting us on a journey to go and save the ice caps. I think that was like the overview.
Yeah,
in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's cool.
Man, very good. All right, well, SherwoodFellows.com,
Yeah.
right? Am I right about that?
Yeah.
And then you also put out a lot of content. What's a good way for people to follow you? Isn't there like some sort of Patreon or some? What is
Yeah, I
this?
have a Substack, which you can get to through Sherwood Fellows, and I also write a lot on LinkedIn. So if you want to follow me there, Marcellino D'Ambrosio, you can just search me, and you'll find my Substack, and you'll find my
If you
stuff.
find somebody that looks like they're older than 50, it's his dad.
It's my dad. Yeah. You go past page 1 of the Google results, and then you'll find me. Just
Type
kidding.
the 5th.
That's awesome. All right, well, one last one for the group here. What is the opposite, my friends, of a, or maybe it's plural, sophisticated belly button?
You wrote belly button.
A crunchy artist.
Yes.
A crunchy artist. There you have it, folks. So that's what is so cool about the BeatiDudes, though, because if you are a sophisticated belly button or a crunchy artist, it's humor
Some
that
for
brings
everybody.
to the tiny table for these discussions. And at the end, that humor and holiness is where it's at, because this is really, the laughter is just an outward symbol of an internal reality of joy.
Amen.
Amen.
All about that friendship.
Here at lucidprivateoffice.com. We love you, Lino. We'll see you.
On the Substack.
Yeah.
And for the rest of you, we will
See you in the Eucharist.
say it.
See you in the Eucharist, baby.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join us at our undersized table, subscribe to the video version of the show on YouTube by typing @ that's the symbol @ so shift and 2 on your keyboard, @ the _ BeatiDudes on YouTube. We'll see you there.